Hey there, welcome to Coffee, Cocktails, and Convos with Dr. B and Kelly D. Um, Please excuse my voice this round. I'm getting over a cold, so Dr. B will be chatting a bit more than I will be. I'll just be intervening my thoughts. So today, the series that we're going to work on is the vagus nerve and how it stimulates our bodies, works with our parasympathetic nervous system. And if you don't know about any of that, don't worry. We're going to educate you and invite you to on a journey with us on how to stimulate your vagus nerve. Dr. B?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you just said journey with us because vagus nerve is longest nerve in the body. And so I always thought of it like I'm driving to Vegas, right? So it's like this long journey, this long drive to Vegas. So it's kind of funny that you just said that.
And they
Um,
actually call it the wandering nerve.
the wandering nerve, that is a true statement. So, and that's because it just wanders. But it's cool because it has so much power and it can really, it's really integrating into our system in massive ways. So, it's a cranial nerve, so it's cranial nerve 10. So it starts up in your noggin and it comes down behind both ears and then really meets in the front, right by the clavicles here, right on the inside. And then as it comes down, it stimulates the heart, the lungs, and then it keeps going, that wandering
You were
long
going to
journey
say
nerve,
phallic.
right? What?
You were going to say phallic.
No. I don't even
Okay.
I don't even use that word in my vocabulary. Um, but as it keeps wandering, then it transcends through the respiratory diaphragm and comes down and innervates your gut as well. So about 90% of our gut innervation is actually connected to that vagus nerve. And so, as it transcends through that respiratory diaphragm and inserts itself into the lesser curvature of the stomach, it really expands out and helps with our digestion if it's functioning well. And that's the thing with anything in our body, right? We want flow, we want function. The body's constantly trying to find homeostasis, and it's going to work to do that. It wants balance. And so, if you guys have been with us, and hopefully you have for a while, it's all about harmony, it's all about flow, it's all about function and homeostasis. And so, just like a river needs flow, if those dams are closed in a river, you're going to get stagnation, you're going to get debris collected, there's no movement, things get yucky, bogged down, all bleh, gross, right? So we really want to ensure those dams stay open and that in essence our river is flowing, and that's going to help us naturally achieve that homeostasis. We don't have to work so hard to do that, but we have that flow and that function. We feel good, our well-being is there, so all the good things, right? So today with the vagus nerve, we want to just give you guys a little bit of knowledge around why it's so important if you haven't already really sensed that from what I was just saying. And sympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic nervous system is that fight or flight. It's the like go go go, do constant. It's the all the blood like cessates centrally and then goes out to our limbs so we can run, we can fight for our lives, we can survive. So I always think of the gazelle being chased by a lion. And so, the gazelle is like grazing, doing its thing, and then all of a sudden it senses the lion behind it or nearby, and the gazelle takes off, lion chases it, right? That's sympathetic. That's, oh my gosh, survival mode. I got to get out of town, right? And then the parasympathetic is that gazelle grazing, or I like to think of like a golden retriever with its tongue out, like, right? So it's just this like ability to come out of that fight or flight. That's where we rest. That's where we digest. That's where our body can repair. So it's imperative we get into that parasympathetic. So in that gazelle running from the lion, what we see, and you could Google videos, honestly, and you watch that gazelle run. And once the gazelle knows it's safe, the lion has realized it's not going to catch it. Then within minutes, you see that gazelle grazing again. And that's that parasympathetic. And we as humans truly should be able to get in that sympathetic, run, do what we need to do, but then also get out of that. And I think what happens, just we're so busy, we have so many things to do. We get really heady about all the things. Got to do this next, got to do that next. What kid's going where, and when do I cook, and what, right? Like all the things. And so we get stuck in this kind of heady high tone, so hypertonic state, and we never exhale. We never come out of that. We never come into that, or very rarely come into that parasympathetic state. And that's going to lead to so many things, right? Because that's that sympathetic fight or flight, constant go, go, go. There's the overwhelm, there's the anxiety, there's all these things that cascade from that. Whereas when we can get into, even if we have to intentionally bring ourselves into that parasympathetic state, we can rest, we can digest, we can repair, key word, right? And we have energy reserve. We're not wasting all our energy on this constant fight or flight and this overstimulation. We're able to come down and we're able to be at peace. Maybe we can discern better. We have more clarity. We have more patience, right? And as a parent, I want to be patient and present, and I don't want to just blow up. And so it's really important that we understand that how this is connected to that. Because if that vagus nerve is stuck, or the pathway of that nerve just doesn't have that full flow and that function of it, then that's going to add to some of our signs and symptoms. And then we feel crazy and we feel like we just can't rest, right? And maybe we gain weight and maybe we can't sleep well at night. And there's so many things that come from that. So, Kelly, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but that's my base foundation of vagus nerve and sympathetic. We can't hear you, girl. You are on mute because you're coughing over there like a hot
I'm like,
mess.
I'm interjecting. No wonder why you kept talking over me.
I was just like, you told me I needed to talk. So
I
girlfriend was
know.
talking. Like, what's up?
So I
That's
was gonna
incredible.
add on, I was gonna add on that when we are in sympathetic overload, and we in turn have what they call vagus nerve burnout,
Mm-hmm.
it's because there's old patterns, whether it's from trauma or breath or you know
Yeah.
um, like an accident or any kind of trauma that has affected us from emotional, spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
or physical aspect, that also impacts. So it stores patterns in our body, which in
Yeah.
turn affects like our head,
Yeah.
heart, belly, and as well as the vagus nerve, which is parasympathetic, which we want to try and be into, as Dr. B had mentioned, right?
Yeah. And that's so important because it's that buildup, right? It's that congestion. So
Yeah.
no matter what the driver was, right? It could be a physical driver, meaning something physical occurred, a surgery, a trauma, you hit the steering wheel, you hit your head. I mean, as we talked about, it's the wandering nerve. So it goes through so many structures, tension. Those of you that like hold your shoulders up here, right? That's going to cause a lot of compression and tension. So it could be a physical driver, but then like Kelly D's saying, there can be this emotional, mental, even consciousness driver related to trauma, negative experiences, unpleasantry within our life situations. And
Have
we
to be
don't,
like this, huge impactful thing. It just affects
yeah,
us, from a standpoint in our psyche, right? And that's trauma.
right. Right, for sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thanks for clarifying that. And some if you're listening to other podcasts and stuff, they'll talk about like capital T versus lowercase t and things like that. And so there's all different types of trauma. And I want to just add a little note. We've talked about this in a former podcast, but or previous. What would be the right word there? I don't know.
Previous.
Previous. Yeah, I like that one better. But we've talked about how a lot of us have endured something, and we're trying to minimize it or not put any energy or focus into it. So we're like, well, but yeah, Kelly D experienced X, and that was so much worse. So I'm fine. I haven't, I didn't really like have trauma. Yet it's not what your body's saying, and our body speaks. Our tissue holds the truth, right? So it's really imperative that we just know at the end of the day, we've all had some kind of trauma and experience. So, like Kelly's saying, in your psyche, just that memory, those feelings, those emotions that we hold and capture as a result of a moment. And that could be like, so my son has experienced bullying for the last year and a half, and there's little things like, the other day this kid just went up to the teacher and made up a lie that my son had said something that he did not say. And so that, like, that's trauma in the sense of the psyche's holding on to this. Why is he lying? Defamation of character. It's not what I
Yeah.
said. I don't understand why he'd make it up, all the things. So
Because it's like
anyway.
victim role, right? Like we
Yeah, for
automatically
sure, for
went
sure.
to that because we're being
Mhm.
kind of attacked in a way, right?
Yeah,
There's trauma
yeah.
being created.
Right.
Yeah,
So we talked about that, like breath holding, like, like, how dare him say this? Well, if we don't come out of that and that respiratory diaphragm and our system, goes into this hypertonic state, then we're not going to have that flow and that natural homeostasis. And that's like that zaps our energy, right? Our body is constantly trying to find that. And so if there's restrictions, if there's hypertonicity, then that's going to make it more difficult, which is going to use more of our energy on day in and day out, right? So if we live in that high state, that fight or flight state, gosh, like the chronic fatigue, the overwhelm, the lack of sleep, all the, and then it just cascade, right? Like the
yeah,
momentum of that,
because you're not going to want to
awful.
go for that walk and get some fresh air. You're not going to
Exactly.
want to prepare a nice, healthy meal for
Yeah.
yourself. You're not going to
Yeah.
want to spend time with the kids. You're not going to
Mm.
want to do anything because you're in
Done.
hyper. Yeah, you're
Done. Yep.
hyper overload, right? Sympathetic
Totally.
rules.
Yeah. So it's really important, and that's why we wanted to bring this to you guys, because it really does manifest into a lot of signs and symptoms. And we'll get more into those in the next episode, and bringing in even of those of you women. We just came off of a 3 series of perimenopause, menopause. So those of you women that are in that season of life, like how this, you know, can contribute to your symptomology and what that feels like. But the cool thing is, and we're going to teach you this in the third episode, is just the tools to kind of regulate this
Mm,
and bring yourself into that parasympathetic. Good gracious, they are like
yeah,
so easy when you remember to
yeah.
do them, right?
Super
So we'll get
easy,
more into
takes
that.
seconds. Yeah.
Seconds, literally, and it like changes the game. Um, and I love when patients come back to me and they're like, even right now, I have a young boy who is got his stuff going on, and I taught him some of these tools, and his mom called me and said, I was in the car the other day and I said this and it really frustrated him, and all of a sudden I look back in the rearview mirror and he's tapping and doing this thing, and like, tell me more about it. It was really, I was like, good for him. Like, he
Yeah.
knew I am not settled, I'm flustered, and I'm going to turn to this tool, which is what we're here for. We want to provide you guys with simple things that you can just use anytime you need. So
And the best part about that, right,
yeah.
is amazing. And I'm all about this, is that he now uses that tool to self-empower himself,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So created
Mhm.
that foundation that he
Yeah, he
can
doesn't
turn to
need me.
this. No.
No, no, he does
So
not. And
that's
I'm glad. Like,
yes,
please build your toolbox and then be able
exactly.
to know, and we talked about that in the session. Is this like, if you put a nail in the wall and you need a hammer, can you walk over to the toolbox and get the hammer and hammer it in? Well, if you have
Right.
the hammer, yes, right. And that's what I'm gifting you today, is the hammer. So when the nail is there and you need the hammer, just go get it. If a screw is there and you need a screwdriver, you also now have that because you have this tool. Let's call that the screwdriver. Like, so we can go through that, right? Doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. Our kids are smart. It does not matter how young they are.
Yeah.
If they understand this and this, and when I apply that, it feels so much better. I feel better. I feel like then they're asking for that. They want that because they can recognize it, right?
Exactly. And now
Mm,
they know what to sort of ask for, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, woohoo!
Right.
Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to add today about this wandering nerve that can create massive havoc in our system when, one, we don't even know what it is, and two, we have no idea what to do with it?
No, because you'll have to stay tuned for the next episode.
Yeah, stay tuned. But hey, on a final note, we love you guys. Thanks for being here. We hope we've stimulated your mind and body, and we'll see you on the next episode so we can talk a little bit more about this wandering nerve and all the chaos it could potentially cause. However, you're going to have the tools to manage it and maintain it and make it more of a beautiful thing. So we'll see you next week. Yeah? Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.